Welcome to Paint Yourself into the Picture, healing conversations to help us create the happiest picture of our lives. I'm Reba, best-selling author, life coach, and founder of A to Z Healing Space, and I'm so glad you're here. My guest today is Jonita D'Souza, a feminine lifestylist and author and creatress of Exploring Femininity Limited. Welcome, Jonita.
Thank you, Reba. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm glad to be here and so looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, me too. It's lovely to have you here. Tell us, what is a feminine lifestylist?
A feminine lifestylist. First of all, I just came up with this terminology. I saw it didn't exist anywhere and it didn't mean anything on the internet. However, I felt like this very much because I believe that the work that I was doing was to bring the feminine back into our lifestyles, into the lifestyles of busy women. And I believe that each one of us are our own lifestylist in one way or the other. And why not feminine lifestylist, so I can bring in the energy of the feminine in creating your beautiful life. And that's what exactly through the principles of the divine feminine. And that's what it meant for me.
Beautiful. I first of all, I love the idea, the point that you make about we're creating our lives, whether we know it or not. And I'm a manifester, and I always say that about manifesting as well as we are creating our lives. We're manifesting all the time, whether we're aware or not. So we might as well learn how to control this. So, but tell me, what would be feminine? What would be something feminine that you would add to a modern lifestyle, let's say?
So one of the things that is very visible everywhere is that we live in a very busy lifestyle where we do not give the time that we require to really hear our intuition, our body's wisdom, and follow its guidance throughout the day and throughout our lives, pretty much. And when a woman comes to work with me, my first question to them is, what is their connection with their womb? And mostly they don't know, or they do know, but they don't know how to connect. The womb itself is another topic to discuss. So I teach about the importance of how womb can bring you to your feminine body's wisdom and your creativity, your passion, your sensuality. And that comes through building a sacred relationship with the womb. So one of the rituals that I suggest people starting with is, as soon as you wake up, learning to breathe through the womb, to become, coming home to the womb by breathing in and breathing out through the womb, by touching your womb, and which is, by the way, womb is energetic center, sacral chakra, which is 3 inches below our navel. And a lot of us women have issues with that part of our body. So I think for me, determining that connection in a ritualistic way to start your day with puts you in this state of coming home to your body, where you can then live your life and lead your day from that perspective.
Wow, that's so we were talking before. I'm hearing an echo. Having some technical difficulties, but it's so interesting. How do you feel that the intuition connects to the womb? I'm sitting here, I'm actually holding my womb, and it feels good, and I really feel the rightness of what you're saying. But can you explain a little bit more? How does maybe taking a moment in the morning to massage your womb, how does that connect you with your intuition?
Yeah, if you see, the womb is called the feminine power center. In ancient Chinese, for example, it's where your chi resides, where your life force resides. The term gut feelings comes from that area as well. And they say that you have a second heart in your womb. And when you tune into the richness of the intensity that it presents, it awakens something in you. You can listen to the voices that really mean something, in the sense we have voices going on all the time. We have this, as they say, good dog, the bad dog, the fox voice as well. But when we practice the womb breathing and we get centered into the womb, we come out of the mind's chatter, and then we are able to make decisions based on the voices that we hear from the places of the womb. And it's not that you literally hear a voice from the womb, it's still going to be in your mind, but it's not going to come from a logic, a mind-driven source, but from a heart and a feminine-driven source.
I see. My voice is I feel like Darth Vader.
That's sexy.
Your mother. No. So it's not that the voice is coming from the womb. The voice is just coming from your intuition, let's say. That's so interesting. What other, we were talking a little bit before we started recording here about ritual. And that's so interesting because I also agree that bringing ritual into our life adds something very special. Can you speak to that? And what other types of rituals do you explore with your clients besides the connecting with the womb?
Yes, yes, rituals, they are so important and a sacred part of our lifestyle, which we have kind of forgotten because the ancients really gave so much importance to this act of rituals. And rituals is basically doing something with your intentions. It can be just, infusing your intention in your water that you're sipping right now, and it becomes a ritualistic act. Yeah. So people have kind of associated rituals in one way with the religion and have kind of drifted away from its sacredness. However, ritual is all about the intentions that you bring into the act. Yeah. And if you look really behind in the origin of this word, it came from a Sanskrit word, I think it's called ritu, and it means the time of the menstruation of women. So it comes from there. So the word ritual itself comes from this part, the important integral part of women's existence, the menstruation, the moon time. Wow. And it's really important for us women to bring in rituals to our modern day lifestyle through doing intentional acts. So one of the other rituals that I usually suggest is to tuning in with the sacral chakra and doing hip circles in the mornings. Again, it's with an intention to awaken your sacral chakra, awaken your kundalini, and awaken your feminine essence, basically. When we sleep, our energy is coiled. And when we wake up, it's a very beautiful way of uncoiling this coiled energy. And it's something, again, you can do as alone, or while you're making a cup of tea, or even brushing your teeth. You can literally tune into these intentional acts by not really spending a whole lot of time, because I understand that a lot of people get put off by long methods, or even though those are really helpful and really grounding and profound. Yeah.
I think it's the best definition of ritual that I've ever heard, that it's just something that you add an intention to. So I could just drink the water, or I could decide that I'm giving myself life-giving energy as I'm drinking, or I'm cleansing, and that thought will actually change the experience of drinking.
And it's a ritual.
And it's a ritual. And I also loved the idea of putting rituals back into our hands, because I think when I thought of ritual, or if I think of the word, it's something that the priest or the rabbi does.
Yeah.
And that we are
the witches.
The witches. Right. And that we're kind of the observers, the passive observers. And you're saying really the opposite, that we're the ones that are infusing our own lives with ritual. And I love the idea of doing it while you brush your teeth. I was going to ask you specifically for a ritual somebody could, somebody who's a 9-to-5er could take to work and do, so that it doesn't look suddenly that, you've got a witch shaman, burning a chicken in the middle of the office.
Yeah, smoke.
Exactly. Something that maybe somebody could do quietly, that only they know. I mean, the water is a great idea, but treat us to another one, maybe.
Yeah, so again, doing the hip circles. This is something that you can do while sitting on a chair. Like I am doing it right now as I'm talking to you, you know. So it's not that I am getting sexually aroused or something, but you can still make those pelvic circles to bring yourself to your womb, to your sexual essence, sensual essence. But this is your primary essence as women. This is our innate essence.
Wow.
And this is quite simple thing. And when I was in a full-time job and I was learning all of these things, I would integrate these practices and I would be like moving and bringing joy to myself, you know, to my day. And I know as a manifestor, you know this, that our energy is what we pull in. So it's so important to feel the pleasure of our own existence.
Yes, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm with you 110%. But tell me, how did this, you know, and sadly, we're not taught this as children. I mean, I certainly wasn't taught to, you know, enjoy. I love to dance, so I did enjoy I actually got tremendous pleasure from movement, but I wasn't, you know, just really taught to have that pleasure. Dance, you know, became a question of striving at some point, which is not, I don't think, what it should be, but to come back into the body and find the pleasure in the body. But how did you start this journey? Because I don't know if you were brought up with this or you discovered it as an adult.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic because I know I've learned all these practices through many teachers in Glastonbury, especially. So I've been visiting, traveling a lot there in my early years to learn these practices. And every time when I asked them, where did you learn this practice from? Where did you learn your teachings from? They always told me that they had to go back to India to learn, and they spent 5 years in India, they spent 10 years in India, and they learned all these practices and they brought it back here. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to travel because I was born in India. I was raised in India. I just moved to the West only a decade ago. So I had to travel all my way, 6,000 miles to London, UK, to disassociate myself with the conditioning, Indian conditioning, to bring back myself home to the conditioning.
Amazing. Amazing. But actually, you know, the truth is that I think a lot of us really do discover that about our own culture, that our culture does have these seeds of great wisdom in it, but that we didn't necessarily have access to it as children because somehow it got covered over with lots of shoulds and shouldn'ts, and this is not what you do and this is what you do. And then we can rediscover it. So it's actually does, I think your journey is unique, of course, but maybe a lot of people have to go back and then rediscover the wisdom of their original, like, wow, I didn't know that what I was looking for was right back home.
Yeah, that's true. I grew up in a very small town in India. It's a tropical island, and people live a very simple life, connected to the nature, very simple living, basically. And me growing up as a teenager, I just wanted more, you know, like those things don't come into your picture when you're a teenager. You are full of fire, you want to do all the things, and quietening your mind is just not your agenda.
Right. That's so fascinating. So you really had to leave because even if they were telling you all the same stuff, that wasn't your life path to do it there, to just be on an island, you know.
Yeah. And when I got to London and when I first of all, I thought that, okay, I am free. I'm a free woman because first of all, it's really hard. And I'm talking like 2 decades ago. It is still not good, but the conditioning for women growing in India is a bit of a challenge. If you have a free mentality, a free spirit, then it's really hard for you to express or be expressed as a woman there. They have a very famous saying. They say that women are supposed to be seen only and not heard.
Oh my.
So I felt extremely free when I got to London. I thought, wow, this is it, you know, I love it. And I went full on to exploit my freedom to an extent that I got so burnt out. And I was doing, you know, I got into drugs, alcohol, and all the party scene and stuff, and it just left me fully depleted. And at that point, and then I heard a very sad news of my dad passing away. And I couldn't go for the funeral because I was studying here. I was a student at the time. Somehow I made it, but it all just shook me so much. And I just wanted calmness at that time, which I couldn't find in this busy lifestyle in India. And I wanted the calmness that I always grew up with and which I ignored and I hated and I ran away from. So this is why I'm so passionate about bringing the busyness out of your lifestyle and bringing rituals into lifestyle, because I see it's really required here.
It really is. It really is. That's so beautiful. And let me ask you another question. How did you find your voice as you were discovering these things for yourself, to have the courage to say, I'm going to share this with others, and I'm going to step out right there as a leader and as an expert?
Yeah, it was quite challenging. First of all, I didn't intend to go out as a leader. After all my, I spent a couple of years learning things in Glastonbury, and then when I came back to London, I decided to open up a meetup group for women so that women like me can join and we can talk about, and I can share what I learned. And because none of my friends understood me anymore with what I was going through, it happens to all of us. So I wanted a new circle of women who were seeking just like me and with whom I can practice what I was learning. And that's the reason I named the meetup group as Exploring Femininity, because I was exploring. And I didn't realize that within few months, it just grew up to 800 members. And I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? It's time to step up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
organically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So this is amazing. So can you just share with us one particular moment where you had a personal experience with the divine feminine, that, you have a lot of obviously confidence in this idea of the divine feminine? For some people, it's just a pretty word, but it's not something that they've experienced or really even believe necessarily. So could you just share one of your personal experiences with really connecting with that?
Yes, this was in one of the sacred ceremonies where we spent few days doing this sacred ceremony with a ritual with plant medicines, specifically ayahuasca. And I knew, I had read a lot about it, and I knew what the experiences could be or would be. And I was very nervous. However, I just decided to surrender to the moment, and I went for it. And I had an extremely profound experience during that time, because I was given the download of what I was supposed to do. And at that moment, we were among healers, and all of a sudden, and they were singing songs as the rituals were going on. So people who were into the ceremony, they were facilitated by a group of healers chanting songs. And when I was in that ceremony, I started to chant songs which I had never heard before, which I had not known the lyrics, anything of that sort. And I started to sing, and I spent my entire night just singing, and the healers kind of saw me as one of them. And they started asking me to help the ones who were into the ceremony. And my ego was coming in. I was wondering, oh, but it's my ceremony too. I paid to be experiencing this, and you're asking me to work. But, there was a battle of the egos I could feel. And in that moment, my entire body lit up, and I literally saw every single part of my body. Like my body became transparent. So I could see every single nerves and every single cell in my body. And I had a very profound realization that how beautifully, how magnificently every single thing inside ourselves is working to make us happen. Like, it was just shown to me, all these visuals that I used to see on YouTube and, on graphics, I saw myself in there, and the beauty of creation that we are. And my healer said that they saw a personification of Kuan Yin, the goddess, in me. And I felt that I was sitting on a lotus, and I didn't realize all of these things until I, journaled back my experience. And from that day on, I saw the divinity of my body, and it's just not me, it's every single one. I stopped taking sugar, I stopped abusing my body, I started looking after my body as this great, amazing vessel which is making me happen in this world. And this is through the power of the Kuan Yin goddess, which was shown to me as compassionate bodhisattva that she is.
Wow. Just
that changed a lot of things. I was crying out of joy because I was like, why can't you see it? You are magnificent. Why can't you all see?
Yeah. And it's so interesting. I mean, I know this is a very that was a heart experience, and I totally get how magnificent it must have been. This is a kind of an intellectual question. I don't know what you'll make of it, but, I know that there's Jonita and there's Kuan Yin, and you were the same, but you're not the same. So can you just speak to that for just if you can? I know that this is more of a, it's very hard to answer this but really, how was it that you were imbued with her? Do you have any answer for that?
Yeah, at that moment, I can only describe my experience, and I didn't even know who Kuan Yin was and what it was and what she was, and if there is anything like that. But in that moment, I saw, when plant medicine works through you, it's got the divine feminine grandmother energy. Ayahuasca that works in that way, and we call it the grandmother. When it was working through me, I saw myself as this white being seated on a lotus, and I was shining, I was radiating this light, and the face of my father showed up, who died a few years ago, and I was healing through, and his face showed up, and I just said thank you, and he smiled, and he disappeared. And at that moment, I realized that I have been given something which is called something like compassion, something, I couldn't explain those experiences. These are multidimensional experiences that I couldn't put words to, logical words to explain to people. But I saw the expression of what it means to be a light being. And when I went and when my healers in the community said that, oh, you look like that, and when I went to research who Kuan Yin is, and I see her personification is this white goddess. She sits on lotus, and she's for compassion. And I've always been this person all my life. It's just that I've never been told that you are compassionate, but I always had deep compassion all the time. And from that moment, I felt that compassion was triggered in my life. I could feel more and more of it. So every day I could feel myself embodying, and all of a sudden, all these things that she carries with herself, like the silk, the lotus. I saw that I have pictures of lotus in my laptop. I have those silk scarves that are very traditional, and like I was using all of those things in my life already. And it just kind of encompassed everything in that experience, in that very moment.
Wow.
So that's my interpretation, so yeah. I don't want anyone to be offended if they are like Kuan Yin followers or like devotees.
No, I think they'll be excited, not offended. Thank you so much. I know that was, a beautiful, profound experience, and really appreciate you sharing it and reflecting on it here. And last but not least, I want to ask people, how will people who want to work with you get in touch with you? Because you really do have so much to offer, and it's just been really wonderful speaking with you today. I'm so glad we finally got the time together.
And we made it.
We did it. And the time was right, and the time was perfect. So yes, how can people reach you?
They can just look up Exploring Femininity on Google or even on Facebook, and they can find me on my Facebook page. It's called Exploring Femininity. I have a Facebook group that's called Exploring Femininity. My website is also called Exploring Femininity. So that's what I represent.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being our guest on Paint Yourself into the Picture. And thank you to our viewers for watching today. If you like what you see, please share, please like, subscribe, and do leave your comments, because Jonita and I love to hear what you're thinking and what your response is. And we'll come back and do our best to respond to everybody who leaves a comment below. So if you like what you're seeing, stay in touch with me as well. My website is rebalinker.com, and my Facebook group is Leaders in Self-Love. And you can learn more about the exciting new online community at A2Zhealingspace.com. Join us again next week for another healing conversation. This one was amazing, wasn't it? Until then, remember to shine your light. Learn how to paint yourself into the picture, because this is how we heal. Many blessings.